Hey friends, welcome in and blessed full buck moon. This is a powerful lunation where the moon in Capricorn brings grounding and structure to the emotional waters of Cancer. It's a moment of balance between nurturing and knowing, and between feeling deeply and moving forward with purpose. Tonight, under this full moon, we reflect on what we're ready to shuck, like old corn husks, and we find out what strength is ripening within us. The buck moon gets its name because this is the time of the year where deer grow new antlers. So it's about rising into new maturity, new resilience, and even new leadership. So take a breath, settle into yourself, and let's see what the cards have to say. Shuck it. Hello, and welcome to your 3-card tarot card reading in honor of the full buck moon. The theme is, what are we ready to release, and what strength is rising beneath? What are we ready to release, and what strength is rising beneath? Card number 1 is going to answer the question, what needs to be shucked? What needs to be released, in other words? What needs to be released? Ooh. I have drawn the 5 of Cups as far as what needs to be released. This card shows someone who's mourning over spilled cups and still unable to see the 2 cups that are standing behind them. So you might be holding on to past regrets, like the one that got away, or the job that didn't work out, that friend that you lost, or the friend that hurt you. Or maybe it is, that the past regret is that you're mourning the version of yourself that you thought you'd be by now. For instance, I just recently reconnected with a friend of mine. She was my best friend in high school. I lived with her. And getting together with her has been great for my self-esteem because she reminded me, that I wanted to be the first female president. And it makes me think about, what I was doing back then. I was a security guard, and I thought maybe I would go into the military, and I thought maybe I'd be a police officer, and I thought about going into the FBI. And then apparently I already had these plans, to be the first female president. And I think a lot of us are just kind of mourning, those things that we never, had an opportunity to go after, or that we just talked ourselves out of, if that makes sense. Just past regrets, regretting a breakup, or just replaying that breakup in your head over and over and over again, like what happened, what was said, what you could have done differently. So those feelings, those are what need to be released. Okay, those feelings are something from the past, and it's not allowing you, first of all, to see these couple of things that you've got going on here for you, and not just the things that you have going on, but the things that you really need to be paying attention to. It looks like you haven't paid attention to them in quite some time. Okay, so the avoidance of taking care of business, the avoidance of dealing with our emotional traumas and our regrets and our grief, and yes, the 5 of Cups is absolutely asking us to grieve, to grieve, but not to live in grief, I should say. So it's okay to grieve, give yourself some time to grieve. But if you're still grieving over, it makes me think of Napoleon Dynamite and Uncle Rico, like he's still thinking about that last throw that got intercepted or whatever, or he had that perfect throw, and he's reliving that over and over and over again. And it's just time to not live in that grief. It's time to shuck. It's time to shuck the sorrow, and we're going to compost those old stories. Right now, you have the support of yourself. You can dig deep and you can look inside. And this isn't about bootstraps. This is about actually placing that energy slowly but surely into making that change, doing that thing, writing that letter, whatever it is that you have said that you wanted to do all along. It's time for you to live for you, and it's time for you to do that. And those old wounds that are holding you back from being in a relationship or being in the same type of job that you were in, or whatever it is that you're upset about or grieving over, we got to start thinking about the future. Okay. We got to compost those old stories, and we've just got to let go of them. It's about, tending to your wounds here with the utmost tenderness, as if you were, like treating someone else. It's about treating yourself as you would someone else in your same place. What would you tell them to do, and follow those directions, okay? And you would probably just tell them to get up off of the couch and go. You would encourage them to get up. You would probably show up for them. So it's time to show up for yourself and stop thinking about how horrible you were back then, or that bad thing that you said, or the bad way that you broke up, or the woulda, shoulda, couldas, okay? If we're sitting and drinking and eating and drugging, or whatever it is that you do to get your mind off of that, it's time to shuck those stories in your mind. It's time to let go of those once and for all, so you can partake in these 2 cups that have been sitting here all along. These are your accomplishments. These are your emotions. Like, there is some fulfillment ready for you. You just have to get out of this. You can't live in the grief. Okay. Let's honor it and move forward. So if you've put off a memorial for a friend or several friends, it's time to think about how you can memorialize them. If it's getting a tattoo, or having a mini memorial with yourself, or with just a couple of close friends. If it's just writing a letter to say, see you later, whatever that is, we've got to get rid of these things so we can move forward, because we've got great stuff waiting for us right here. Okay. And there's no, I want to say this, I don't know why it's coming to me, but there's no perfect way to heal. Okay. It's just about putting one step forward and continuing to move forward. And yes, sometimes that step can go backward, but we know that we can just continue to move forward. Okay. We might dip back and forth for a little while, until we get, until we're able to stand on these 2 new legs, until we're able to wrap our minds around this new person that we're becoming, this new way forward, this not any longer depressed over things we can no longer control. We're going to come here. We're going to be here now, and we're going to see about those 2 cups. Okay. So moving on to card number 2. What strength is emerging beneath the surface? What strength is emerging beneath the surface? See, we don't even know what strength is there, because we're not even looking at those cups, right? So what is it that's sitting there waiting on us to come in? It's the Chariot card. So I can't think of a better get up and go card and get this done. Like, it's time to move forward. It's time to move on. It's time to shed and shuck those old responsibilities, those things that you were never responsible for to begin with. Okay. And this is a pretty huge card. This is a major arcana card, and this is about, taking the good and taking the bad, and knowing how to move forward with those. Live in that gray area. Know that the experiences that you've had, that you've been to the top and you've also seen the bottom, are very valuable in that gray area. And you can actually, inspire all sorts of different type of people from the Chariot, from just moving forward, from just showing that, hey, I know how to put this shadow in with this light, and I know how to move it forward. Okay. And it's, of course, this is about movement. All right. I'm drawn to people who like to stand still, who don't like a lot of change, because I want to just push them a little bit. I just want to make them leave their comfort zone, because that's the only way that you live. Okay. If you do the same thing over and over again, sure, it's going to get you the same amount of money. It's going to have a predictable way of life. And I think that you're getting bored with that. I think you're wanting something more. I think you're wanting to do something more with yourself. And it's just about getting it done, getting going. And it's not about just like being, just like a wild, all of a sudden kind of I'm leaving ordeal. All right. This is something that's a little bit more calculated. This is a little bit more healed. This is something that you've given more time and patience to, because this is about healing yourself, whether you understand this or not. And this is about uncovering what it is down there. It's about, once we shuck, what is the strength that's beneath our surface that we're not even looking toward? Like, we have a strength right here where, look, there's a cross there, and it makes me think of a red, like a red cross. And it's about, we have angels with us. We are angelic, and we know how to heal ourselves because we've healed others in the same way. And we have to start taking that advice. We have to start pushing that forward in a real way. No one is going to take your advice if you don't show up as the example of the advice that you're giving. So, this is kind of just talking about steering your life with both hands on the wheel. I hear a lot of people saying, Jesus, take the wheel. Well, it's time for you to take the wheel. It's time for you to get active in your life. It's time for you to put everything that you're thinking about into action and no longer hold yourself back. No, you are not an imposter. You can speak up. You can do the things that you think you're going to do. There is no red tape. There are no rules surrounding how high you can go or how far you can go. Okay? I just say that this pace is a little bit slower than the chariot is normally, because we understand that this is a very delicate position that we're in, and moving forward slowly is what's going to pay off in the long run. It's going to remain with you. It's going to become part of your brain muscle memory. For example, this is coming up for me, and it's something that's just happened recently. I had to have a conversation with a friend about, they're feeling badly about the way that they look and how much they weigh, etc., like you do. And, but I also noticed that this person was using language that was derogatory of themselves, like calling themselves fat or calling themselves slow or calling themselves this, that, or the other thing. And, they're like, I just don't know how to change myself. And I said, one great way of doing that is just to change the way that you talk about yourself. When we put words out there into the air, that they're gone, that's already a manifestation. It's on. So, if you continue to talk about yourself as being fat or being ugly or as being slow or as being unmotivated or boring or lazy or whatever it is that you're telling yourself in a negative way, that's what's going to, keep happening and what's going to keep manifesting. So, first of all, changing the way that you think and you talk about yourself will help you, and it will also probably change the way that you judge and think and talk about other people once you do that. That's going to be very interesting, and this is definitely for someone here. So if this resonates with you, great. If not, just move on. But actually move on for real though. So it's time for us to move on. Okay. So make sure you speak up too. All right. Even when our voice shakes, we have to say it. We have to say it out loud. Like I said, we can manifest good. We can manifest bad. And right now it's time to manifest healing ourselves, giving ourselves a lighter heart, giving ourselves a lighter time in life. Like, we've just been so hard on ourselves for past shit that we're not giving up. Okay. And we're missing out. We're missing out on those 2 cups there, that emotional fulfillment that we're looking for. Okay. This is also giving me vibes of setting a boundary without guilt. Learning to set a firm boundary doesn't have to be an act of aggression. It's an act of love. It's an act of charity. It's an act of compassion and empathy for another person, but mainly for yourself. Okay. So try setting boundaries without guilt. Okay. And I think that, don't set a boundary based on guilt. And I also think that if you set a boundary and you don't keep it the first time, don't guilt yourself out of setting another boundary or going back to that boundary. And reevaluate your boundaries. Sometimes those things have to be moved backward or forward. And you have to allow for, if you're setting boundaries with someone, say that you live with or that you're in close proximity to, you have to allow for them to change as well, because your situation and your boundaries might be different as you go along, especially if there's someone there, growing and learning on their own or with you, like those boundaries can move backward and forward. My personal experience is that we set too difficult of boundaries on ourselves as a punishment, and boundaries are not a punishment. They're actually a protective layer. They're a way that we can keep going forward in the way that the chariot wants us to do. Slow and steady, though, slow and steady. So I believe that your strength is rising, and you know what direction you need to go in. You know where you need to start. You've been asking people all those questions about where to start, and they're telling you the same thing. So I think this is really pointing a finger at you, like I'm pointing a finger at this card, okay? This is a strength that you have moving forward and getting up off your ass and doing the thing, all right? Even if you were told that you couldn't, or that like you shouldn't, all those things, it doesn't matter. The rules are out the window. Your rules are what stays here, okay? You do what you want to do. So, all right, just keep going and know that you're being divinely led. And that is from someone who's passed, because there's still a lot of grief in this card for a lot of you out there. I predict that there's going to be a lot of you out here watching this, and this is going to really resonate with you. Especially with this Capricorn buck full moon. It's asking us to reevaluate our structures and to move forward in a slow and steady pace. That's exactly what this card is saying. Now, moving on to card number 3. What will grow from the compost of release? What will grow from this compost? Like, we're releasing it, we're making it something different, and making something different is composting it. It is moving it around so it can become something else, become something new, grow new roots. As a matter of fact, my compost this year surprised us with some volunteer potato plants. We've thrown a ton of potatoes and sweet potatoes in there, and now there are a ton of potatoes and everything growing. And because we cut off the good parts and left the bad, and we went and composted them, they've become something edible again, and they've become something really beautiful as they grow. And I love watching the strength of the stalks grow out of the compost, out of all that crap, literal crap, trash that we've thrown in there. New stuff grows. Like, everything can rise again. All right. So what will grow from the compost of this release? And I drew the 9 of Pentacles. Wow, that's really amazing. Let me get this in my antler here to represent the buck moon. And this is my golden antler. All right. So this card is really a beautiful promise of a nice life, of the life that you've been telling yourself. Like, I think I've said this once, and I'm going to say it again. When I was looking into this full moon in my notes on my phone, I pulled up full moon in Capricorn, and it brought back a past release session and magic spell that I did on myself for the last full moon in Capricorn. And it's the same shit. Like, I haven't gotten rid of that stuff from the last time. And I don't know if that's from a year ago, a month ago, 6 months ago. I have no clue. But I do know that it's time to really compost this stuff, right? And like, I feel like I'm just holding myself back, and I feel like we're holding ourselves back from having what it is that we want. And it's these messages that we're sending and receiving to ourselves about who we are and what we want to be. We've got to do that in a more enlightened way, a lightened way. Okay. And it's just about promise. And after the grief, after you've experienced this grief and the growth and the stepping out, you're going to find a safe space where you can be self-sufficient. And I see that Venus symbol, so self-sufficient, beautiful, peaceful, just really in your element. Okay. This is about being financially independent. Okay. I see that Venus is about love and money, babies, and love and money. She's about a lot of things, but love and money for me is the main one in this card. This is a Pentacles card, which is about, the things that you like. Well, Venus is about like, love, and can't get enough of. And, oh, I got sidetracked. I got a little bit of magic. I noticed a number 1212, 1212, 1212. So financial independence is coming, and that's the Venus. That's the love and money, babies. And then just creating a space that's yours, creating a space that feels like more yours, like updating things, like you're updating your life, as you're updating the way that you do things, as you're updating the way that you feel, as you're getting up and dating. if that is the case, like this is what can happen, when we do shed what it is that we can no longer control, or something that we could never control to begin with. Okay. It's just about figuring out our responsibilities to ourselves and knowing that a more independent, more fulfilling life that we want and dream of for ourselves is the result of getting past this grief in a slow but steady pace. Okay. So I think that you're just going to become someone who enjoys being by yourself more. I know a lot of people, I love my alone time, and I know a lot of people think that they don't love being alone, but have you tried it in a real way where your mind is clear, where you're just focusing on yourself and doing something for yourself? Give that a try. So, I think that this is just kind of giving me energy of a garden that needs to be tended. Okay. It's like, okay, we've had a flood of emotions happen. Okay. And we really haven't known which way to go or how to get there. And we didn't even think that we had it in us to go forward, but we do. The chariot says that we do. And if we do, we will be rewarded handsomely. We will be rewarded with fortune. And that fortune is the love of ourselves, the confidence in ourselves, our self-esteem, our self-worth, our self-peace, our spirituality is back. Our smiles are back. Our eyes are lifted. Our heart is lifted. Our nervous systems are regulated. And we're finally getting down to brass tacks about what we want, how we want to decorate our home, what kind of car we want to use, what kind of cell phone we want to own. Like, we've been holding ourselves back by using other means and ways of, dealing with our grief, and keeping us from doing other things that are honestly more important for your growth and for your, just for your human self to be well in all of the ways. I'm talking mental health, physical health. Okay. So just know that it's okay to receive. All right. And it's okay to let go. There is no time limit, and there's no time limit for grief. Okay. But you also have to live life. All right. So grieve for as long as you need to, but just know that you also need to participate in your life while doing so. All right. Because you don't want to have to get to this point where it's like all of a sudden, oh, now I've got to do these things. Like, don't let it get down to the last minute that you can't be helped, that you can't be saved from yourself or whatever. Like, don't get down to that point. Know that you've got it in you to go forward. All right. So, I'm going to wrap this up right now. I feel like I went a little over, but I had a lot to say, and I'm being divinely led. I want to say, whoever this is for, and for all of you who feel this way, I want you to know that you are not broken. You are just becoming. You are just now rising. You're just now figuring it out. I'm 52 years old. I've just now figured it out. The first 50 years didn't count. They weren't mine. Now I get to go forward. Okay? You're not broken. You are becoming, and you are rising. That's magnificent. I'm going to leave it there. Blessed full buck moon. Thank you so much for being here.